In this game, you saw two different teams. In this game, you saw a team that is committed to being successful, committed to fixing problems, committed to winning. And then you saw a team that has been coasting for years. You saw a team that didn't have a plan. And I'm going to start with Arrows because I want to get them out of the way. That was a disgraceful performance. They had no plan. You know, I interviewed coach Vusmuzi Vilakazi when they played Sundowns last year. It was a 4-0 loss. And he said to me, they were seeing so many things, the way they warm up, the way they play. He was like, he could tell that they were so far ahead. And now we fast forward a year later and you see the same, if not worse, Golden Arrows show up. A Golden Arrows that had no idea what they wanted to do. They didn't have a defensive plan. They didn't have an attacking plan. They couldn't adapt. You know, on the left-hand side of Golden Arrows' defense, Sundowns would just run into the side of their box, cross it back, and there was always somebody waiting. That wasn't addressed. The only time that Golden Arrows started playing was when everything went quiet. Sundowns sort of let games go. The last few games, the last 30 minutes or so, they kind of lose their structure and allow teams to come back. And it made me so angry that it feels like you're just honoring a fixture. It feels like you haven't done any work. You're playing a high line versus a Sundowns team that has used Reyners and Matthews to run in behind and hurt teams. Nobody's sitting on Ribeiro, who we all know in that Sundowns, in Manqoba's new Sundowns, he plays a 10. Not even to have somebody stick with him and stand with him and make sure that making those passes are hard. Sorry to interrupt this video, but I need a little bit of your help. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can probably see my subscribe account. And if you can, I'd be very grateful if you would subscribe. That is actually the best way to support this channel because the bigger that number is, the better it looks to potential guests and other brands and companies that I will approach for sponsorship. It may seem like a very small thing to ask for, but it actually helps with all of this. Thank you very much. Let's get back to the video. You have no clue of how to attack Mamelodi Sundowns. They had no shots on target, no shots at all, end of the first half. Only in the second half did they wake up, but by then it's done. And by then when you start attacking, Mamelodi Sundowns catches you. My anger is not the score. My anger is that you're watching a Golden Arrows team that came there to do nothing. And you're looking at a Mabuti Kanyeza who's in his second year. You're looking at a team that has a lot of players that are experienced PSL players. You know, there was a play where the defense, there was the centre backs, the ball had broken free, Sundowns was running. And the centre back left a player that was standing next to him to go run towards the ball and leave a guy behind. And you ask, what are you thinking of? I was extremely disappointed with Golden Arrows. On Mamelodi Sundowns side, Reyners continues to find himself in this team. A man who was brought in to be a Champions League player, according to Coach Manqoba when asked about him, has now cemented his place in the starting lineup. I think Matthews has found himself also in that team, and that two-man counter-attack, that two-man transition is incredible. I think Ribeiro is a wonderful player. At times he's relaxed too much, but in that 10 role, you're starting to see a proper full player that's going to kill teams. I don't think Ribeiro can play again with Tshwane and Peter Shalulile. In fact, that 10 role might be his now, as Uzwane is being phased out. Obviously, he's older, but he was injured in this one. Allende looks so good, playing more of a 6-8, coming back to, build the game, coming back to get the ball and progress it up. But I think the most impressive player in that team has to be Coetzee. There's very few players, if at all any players, that can do what Coetzee does. Coetzee has the ability to go back and play in the 3 when Sundowns is defending, to play as a third centre back when Sundowns is building up, giving Williams a way out. And then the most key thing that I think we've cried for at Kaizer Chiefs, we've cried for at Orlando Pirates, the ability to take the ball, turn and play it forward and make the right pass forward. I think Coetzee, if it weren't for his injury, his injury record, would be the most amazing addition to Bafana. He makes it look so simple. I understand they were playing against a Golden Arrows team that didn't show up at all, but the fact that, you're seeing Coach Manqoba's team take shape, and where they used to rush things when he started out and he was having tough games versus Polokwane and lost versus Stellenbosch. You're seeing the evolution of him, and you're seeing him put aside his ego and say, okay, we're good at building up. Why don't we have a sector of play where we build up? And then when we need to strike, we strike very hard and very fast. This Sundowns looked very leaky defense-wise months ago. Now they look solid, and they're going to walk the league again. But again, you see the contrast between a thinking coach and a growing coach, an adapting coach. You're seeing a team that thinks about things and puts it together and analyzes and does all of that. And you're not seeing that from Arrows. You're seeing it from Sundowns. And this is why Sundowns is a top team. Over and above the fact that Coach Manqoba has shown how deep that bench is, has shown how good those players are. How good was Litlaku when he came onto the pitch? That's a youngster. How good was Abo Loch? The movement, the play. Guys, Sundowns is an incredible team. And we can fight it as much as we want, but that team is so good and so measured. The only thing they need to work on is they have a tendency of letting the game go after around the 65th minute. It's almost like they feel like the job is done. And I think what Coach Manqoba needs to instill in those guys is keep the structure and keep the play. Rather, we're not going forward, but we're keeping the ball, we're keeping our structure, we're not allowing that team to play. Because we've seen it versus Gallants. They sort of allowed them to come back into the game. We've seen it now where they allowed Arrows to start playing. There was a point where Arrows was playing and they got 2 shots versus Williams. And if those 2 goals go in, who knows where the game goes. And it's not because Arrows was playing such an amazing brand of football. It's because Sundowns took their foot off the pedal. The pedal and went to sleep. So I think Coach Manqoba needs to guard against that, because that's where historically Sundowns has lost games that they've controlled, that they've looked good in. And you'll play stronger opposition who are more disciplined in their defense and their rest defense. Disciplined in their defense, where they're going to sit back and deny Reyners the space and deny Matthews the space and maybe mark out Ribeiro. Or even games where you've taken the lead and now you have to just see the game out. There are going to be tougher games that come about for Sundowns, but incredible Sundowns performance, and Manqoba is showing that it's his house and he's going to run his house, and his house is different to Rulani's house, but the quality and the performances, the chances created are way more. This Sundowns team has teeth. See you guys on the next one.